No, it wasn't.
That's all, Aaron. I can see it on the list.
Can't.
I don't know why I'm zooming in here.
It's like, God damn it.
One thing. Hello, folks, and welcome to this episode of the Star Wars. I need to remember the name of my own podcast. Hello, folks, and welcome to this episode of the Star Wars Generations podcast. We've talked a little bit about animation in general. Now we're going back over Now we're going to talk about some of the individual series in particular. And we're starting out by talking about some of the ones that don't get talked about very often. There's a lot of them. We're going to be going back and doing some of our favorite episodes. We're going to start by doing kind of a series, probably as we get ready for Andor, on some of the ones that haven't been discussed much. And so we're starting with what is one of the first. It is not officially the first, because I believe that belongs to I believe that title belongs to Droids, and we're not going to go quite that far back. But Clone Wars 2D micro series. Now, note, this is not the Clone Wars, the TV show that we have talked about at length, and we'll talk about at length. This is a show that is available on Disney Plus that was released between 2002 and 2005. So this was released before and leading up to Revenge of the Sith. And the very last few episodes of it do quite literally lead into Revenge of the Sith. Much as the last few episodes of Clone Wars Season 7 do, but this is from a more direct perspective. Mm-hmm. It is a 2D animation style. It is at times aggressively low-budget animation, but it has some interesting stuff. It's where General Grievous was first really introduced. There's a lot of interesting character beats and things like that. And it's just kind of fun talking about it as a part of Star Wars animation that a lot of people probably don't know about. And I'm joined, as always, by my awesome co-hosts, Alex and Aaron. Aaron, let's start with you. What did you know about this show, and kind of what's your history with it?
I did not know shit about this show until, God, I don't even remember. It was probably at least 5 years ago. It may have been longer ago. It was before the Clone Wars was on Disney Plus, because I was looking and trying to find the Clone Wars to watch it, and this came up, and I was like, the hell is this? Mm-hmm. And then I watched it, and I was like, no, this is actually fire. Like, I actually really like this. This is really entertaining. So I've had a great experience with this show. I've seen it probably like 2 or 3 times, maybe more, in the last several years. Yeah, I think it's a really fun, like, way of showing us some little stories. And it also introduces Ventress for the first time. Kind of gives us some background on her and Anakin's animosity, which I love. And yeah, there's just a lot of cool little things that I really appreciate. Also, Mace Windu taking on like 1 million battle droids by himself. Pretty funny, pretty entertaining.
That's pretty great.
What about you, Alex? How did you feel about this, or what were your thoughts?
It's funny because growing up, this came out like, I think in 2003. So I would have been in first grade. And so it would come out, back then there was no streaming. So, I just would catch random, episodes were like 10 minutes for this show. I catch random episodes here and there. And it just formed this weird, like as I got older, I thought I dreamt it. Like, I thought I made this show up in my head, like that it wasn't really a thing, because it not the actual, but the second Clone Wars, the more well-known Clone Wars series came out. And I remember playing like video games on StarWars.com, like computer games that were based on this micro series. And so I just convinced myself that I had made up the show because I had like played the games on the computer or something.
I love this.
But then like I realized, oh my God, wait, no, this is real. This is a real thing that I do remember because I loved this thing. And it was just my first like introduction to a Star Wars show when I was a kid. But my imagination had invented a story in my head that it wasn't real. But I'm very happy it is, because I think it's fucking hilarious. I forgot how funny it is.
It's so funny.
Paused and rewinded the moment when like Obi-Wan was like, "What was that? I don't know, General. That wasn't one of ours." "Yes, General." "No, General. That was Anakin." "Yes, General." Like, that made me laugh so hard. But the whole thing is so funny, and like I think that we're gonna get into more details, but I think that like it really pushes boundaries that I actually kind of wish were pushed in some of the other Star Wars shows more. and like animated shows, and it also is the show in general is done by the same guy who did Samurai Jack, which was one of my favorite shows growing up. His name is I'm going to say it wrong. Is it Gendry Travasky? Something like that.
I don't know.
I'll look it up. But yeah, Jendi Tartakovsky. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. I know I did, but either way, it's similar in the vibe of like very like atmospheric, like a lot of natural sound and noise used, and very minimal dialogue. And so when the dialogue is spoken, it's more humorous or poignant. And I just love this show. Point is, and I think it's really well done all around.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Let me take this moment to talk a little bit more about the background of the show. It was made because they wanted something to help fill in the gap leading up to Revenge of the Sith, which I think is kind of perfect, because I've always thought that part of why I didn't like Revenge of the Sith was that it felt so out of nowhere with a lot of it. So I get why they wanted this to happen, and we've talked about how the Clone Wars kind of does that job as well. Also, they said very blatantly that they wanted to use it to sell toys, which has been a big part of Star Wars from the very beginning. It was very successful at that. And they chose this interesting format for it. And at first, when I heard about it, and I heard that there was like 42 episodes, I was like, oh, this is going to be a lot for us to watch. But that's the point of the micro series idea, is that there were three seasons that have been released as 2 volumes. And volume 1 and 2, volume 1, seasons 1 and 2 were all released as these 3 to 5 minute like little minisodes. And they were released on Cartoon Network. And I never watched that growing up. Was this like part of like, I never quite got how those things got scheduled, since I'm so used to things in half-hour blocks. Like, were they just randomly part of Adult Swim or some other things?
No, so they would like Cartoon Network. I mean, I watched so much Cartoon Network growing up, but they would basically just kind of like stick a few episodes together into a block and just throw a bunch of commercials in between.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so it's kind of like an episode where it's a number of vignettes. But these are very short, and they bop around a lot, and they do have kind of arcs like you're used to in the Clone Wars. And then season 3, which is volume 2, was a series of like longer, like 10 to 14 minute episodes, all strung into one thing. But altogether, it comes to about 130 minutes of programming. It's 2 hours 10 minutes. It's pretty easy to watch in one sitting. And yeah, it was really interesting to me, because I like you said, I'd heard reference to a 2D Clone Wars thing, and I don't really know enough about animation styles to really understand the 2D versus 3D thing, because my eyes are just weird. But it was really fun to be able to watch this and go back and see, oh, there's some stuff here from like that is original. Like you said, this is where we first get Ventress. Thank you. Asajj is what I was trying to think. Asajj Ventress. I believe this is where we first see Grievous, right? Because we don't see Grievous in Attack of the Clones.
It introduces a lot of characters and like locations that are then revisited in the Clone Wars. I mean, we get places like we get the Corran Civil War, like Mon Cala Civil War. We get Ilum, Barriss, like a lot of plot lines that are later explored in Revenge of the Sith or in the Clone Wars TV series were first laid out in this show in much like simpler formats. Right. But I really appreciated that, because it like it gave them like something to work with and then expand upon. And it's done in a really different artistically a different way, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. And just some of the atmospheric things. Like, one thing I noticed is there's one moment where Asajj is standing before Count Dooku and getting ready to like test herself, and it's raining, and we hear the little sizzle as
she's fighting Anakin in that moment.
Sorry. Oh, sure, you're right. Fighting Anakin, but we hear the little sizzle as raindrops hit the lightsabers. And it's such a small thing, but I've never seen that in any other Star Wars, and it hit me so hard.
Yeah, it was really cool.
And Aaron, I'm sure you loved hearing the ARC troopers specifically called out.
Let's go. Yeah, that is the like first and I believe only canonical canonical inclusion of specifically this clone named Ordo, who's a big part of Karen Travis's Republic Commandos series. He's part of what are called like the Null ARC troopers, and basically their whole thing is like they're a little bit cracked. It's like the Bad Batch, but if they were on like actual just like fucking steroids the whole time.
Yeah, think about like Green Berets or SEALs, or people who are like, oh, okay, the Marines. What are the things that the Marines are scared to do? Here's what they're willing to do. So they're both incredibly skilled, but also like self-preservation. Nah, we don't need none of that.
Very low.
Yeah. So any other kind of last atmospheric things about it before we start talking about some of the individual plot lines and things we get?
Yeah, I just want to like just reemphasize just how much I appreciated the atmosphericness of it, just because like I said, like I mentioned it with the Samurai Jack thing, like that's part of the reason I loved like that show growing up, and to have that happen in Star Wars, like it's just like everything down to like you have a sound, like you pay attention to like the sound of all the blasters. Like, for like there'll be solid like 2 or 3 minutes with no dialogue and just the sound of blaster fire or boots on the ground or like wind or leaves rustling in a jungle. It's like very meant to like bring you into the space that the characters are in. And it's like, I think in so many of the Star Wars shows that have come since, like, I mean, it relies heavily on dialogue and a lot of other special effects. And this is like real basic animation. And it gets the job done with real simple music and like sound effects that are meant to sound ambient. And I think that it like really makes the show unique and special within the Star Wars universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before we dive in,
go ahead.
oh, I just want to take a second. I did double check. Technically, Ordo is not like listed as being appeared in the series, but online it's very accepted that is who that kind of main ARC trooper is. Just in case anyone was going to come for my life. Technically, it's not canon, but whatever.
If the old guy in Return of the Jedi can be Rex, then that guy can be Ordo. I'm totally down.
Exactly.
So let's start talking about some of the specific plot details and stuff that they go into. One of which that I thought was really interesting was they sort of, because a lot of this show is no longer, I think, considered canon. A lot of parts of it have been sort of decanonized, both by Revenge of the Sith itself, which was like just being written while they were making the first of these series, and probably mostly the second as well, but also just by a lot of the other things that have come by it. But still, it provides interesting ideas and perspectives. I love that in this version, Asajj like presents herself to Dooku. Dooku decides to keep her around, and she gets this epic fight with Anakin that shows a lot about him. And then it's pretty much only after he fails that then Dooku is seen as training Grievous. Did you guys see it as like Grievous replacing Ventress for Dooku?
Yes.
I think so. I mean, is that? I feel like that's generally the implication, right? Because that's why we don't see Ventress in Episode 3. Like she was. Well, I mean, they're both, I guess, present in the Clone Wars TV series, but like they're kind of vying for Dooku's attention.
I feel like
maybe
Grievous
was like always in the
has an
background.
edge over her.
Say that again.
I think we have different opinions. I was gonna say I feel like Grievous always had an edge over Ventress because she was always seen as like an assassin rather than like a commander and leader. Even though, yeah, she did have her own like commands and whatnot.
But I
almost
Dooku
felt like
saw her as a secret apprentice, while Grievous was always just like part of like Ventress was not part of Palpatine's plan, while I think Grievous was. So I think Dooku probably cared more about Ventress. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think here's the way I'd kind of square the circle of where the two you're coming from. I think it's that Count Dooku recognized that Ventress was more of a threat. And so on some level, like, I think he favored Grievous in part because Grievous was like this commander from the clone people. Like he wasn't, I think that was kind of the price of working with the clone armies and all that. But also because he kind of, just the Sith part is like humiliate and degrade your apprentice so that they hate you and they crave the power and help them grow. But also like he probably wanted to keep Ventress down somewhat because he does know that the way of the Sith is if Ventress grows strong enough that she can challenge Dooku, then Palpatine might be like, cool, you take over Dooku and then you become my new apprentice, or however it would be. So yeah, I feel like they were played off against each other in really interesting ways. And the question of like, which one did Dooku favor? I think it is more Grievous, but I do think it plays out a lot more in that I think he recognizes Ventress as being a lot closer to a real, Sith Force user. And that's kind of one of the interesting parts of the show. So I get it for this, but I definitely feel like I like it a lot more when the two of them are together as rivals.
For what it's worth, as far as voice acting goes, I thought Ventress was really like menacing and scary, and Grievous's voice made me giggle. I think I'm just so used to the robotic android voice of him in the other shows, and he sounds very refined and sophisticated in this one.
That's fair. That's fair. I do see him as kind of just ridiculous in both, but I can understand.
Fair enough. Also, James Arnold Taylor is also the voice of Obi-Wan in this show.
Yeah,
This is
I
where he
saw
got
that. I
his-
thought it was
he broke in.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I really,
Anthony Daniels is still doing C-3PO in
Hell yeah.
every single property.
he's just that guy who's going to show up whenever. Oh, I think I say Will. Has he passed away?
No.
Okay,
He'll
no, I know
he'll be at Star Wars Celebration.
Awesome. We're going to talk a little bit more in the bonus section. But no, yeah, that's awesome. I like the Padme voice actress a lot. I did think one of the most interesting scenes early on, Yoda gets to be kind of a scamp in this and kind of a like, I'm not sure about your ethics, my friend. There's a scene early on where Yoda is trying to convince Padme that there's something that she should do on behalf of Naboo to like help the war effort and go to this planet called Ilum. And he tries to like convince her security guard that it's okay by using the Force. And she both
Aw.
recognizes it and kind of is like, you don't need to do that. You've convinced me it's okay. And he's a little like, I wonder how she knows that, which I think is supposed to be hinting to her and Anakin. But I just think it was funny that Yoda is kind of like mind controlling people into putting themselves into danger, which is not the most like light sidey Force thing I've ever heard of.
Definitely not.
Let him cook.
Let him cook. Could you imagine if that was the excuse for any Jedi fucking up? Let him cook.
I just, what can I say? I care about hypocrisy when it comes to the Jedi leaders, and so I know
No,
these
it's
things.
fair. He's quite devious in these
Right?
episodes. He's kind of like also just as the narrator. Oh my god, he's so funny.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he starts out early with the kind of like the wicked Count Dooku. And I was
Mhm.
once again feeling like if I'd watched these originally, because when I saw Attack of the Clones, that was one of my biggest frustrations is I had no idea why the Separatists were wrong. Like, as a general rule, I mean, I get that like the clone armies and like Dooku is clearly like not great, even more so when he joins with Palpatine. But like as a general rule, I'm like, if a smaller political entity wants to break away from the larger one, like they should. Like Kosovo gets to break away, East Timor gets to break away. And so I'd kind of come out of that second movie being like, no one told me why it's bad that separatists don't want to be in the Republic anymore. And so when he starts off with just like the wicked Dooku, I was a little frustrated all over again. Like, come on, tell me why this is bad.
Give me some info, but it's a 5-minute episode. Like,
Yeah, there's not going to be much. And there were a number of episodes where there was no dialogue at all, which was really
none.
surprising. It was just combat.
Which is kind of what I love about this show is how bare bones it is.
Yep.
I feel like it gives us a very interesting look at the Clone Wars. And knowing that it was like the original look at the Clone Wars is also just a lot of fun. I want to know why they took out Dirge.
Which one's Dirge?
Dirge is the one that like is Obi-Wan's op.
Oh yeah.
He's like part machine, I think. Like regrows and shit.
Yeah. That was pretty sick character actually.
Literally. I'm like, why didn't we get him in anything else? But
I also think that they should have had like seeing Obi-Wan with like in his full clone outfit with a clone helmet and everything. I would have liked that for a second in in something else.
I would have loved
There
that.
was a lot of character design actually, I think, in the show that was really iconic. They should have included in other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally fair. We do get to see again. Speaking of a character who we like see, and then I don't know why we never got more of them. What's with the Wolfman Jedi?
The Whipped?
Like, we have a full-on, like, I'm not gonna say werewolf because he never changes into a man, but he's like an anthropomorphic wolf who's a Jedi, and he just looks incredible. And I was
Is he the
thinking,
one
like,
that? Oh,
he's like towards the end of Volume 1.
he kind of looks like a platypus in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a Whipped.
Okay.
which is a very interesting species. I learned about it because of the book. Oh shit, what was it? The zombie book that I read and did like a special Patreon episode. Not take that out. Screw Patreon. Let me try again. It's from the book Red Harvest. I got to know that kind of species, and they're basically like imagine the Trandoshans and kind of their reputation for like bloodthirst and just bounty hunting and just hunting in general. It's like that times 100. Like
Interesting. Okay.
totally keeping scalps of their enemies and corpses of their enemies just for the funsies of it. So it's very interesting to see this like early rendition of that type of a species as a Jedi, because with the now like background and non-canon background of the species, it's just so interesting to see. It's like the same idea as like a Trandoshan Jedi. It's like, what? But yeah, he looks so cool.
Oh, he looked amazing.
Super interesting.
And I would have loved that, especially because, like, not to like read in here, but the Trandoshans, like, and some of those others, like, they're very kind of like bestial, like they're very animalistic, and so much of the Force is about resisting those aspects of our nature. So yeah, that would have been such a fun character to watch.
Not as deep or cool, but I also enjoy that there is a Jedi that looks like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Yes, I love Shaggy Jedi.
I did not make that particular connection, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
He's the one that's killed by Grievous first. He was a little Padawan from Ki-Adi Mundi who runs away, but he looks just like Shaggy, and I think it was on purpose.
No, stop. Guys, his name is literally Shaggy. It's SHA''A, last name GI.
Y'all are welcome. Love that. Love that. So,
okay,
yeah,
here's the
very
thing.
much on purpose.
I was going to come on here and talk about how I felt like this felt a lot like a fan-made project, and honestly, it felt kind of like a troll. Like, it felt like it was kind of like half parody, half satire or something. And you guys are talking about all the seriousness of it, and the atmospheric of it. And I was like, okay, maybe we can get into it. And then you tell me that there's literally a Jedi called Shaggy.
Yep.
Like,
let him cook.
Okay, so knowing Cartoon Central, so mostly it was stoners who were watching this. Okay, I think I need to keep that in mind while I'm trying to understand this show.
I mean, I think that the show, what makes it so like unique and fun to me, at least, is that it like it has a lot of seriousness and like really sophisticated, I think, like lessons and storylines and like things that are done in it. But then it's also silly as hell. I mean, you know, you have all the really ridiculous jokes. There's that one like separatist guy who was like, "My army can withstand 1,000 Jedi," and the droid's like, "I see some Jedi," and he goes, "How many are there? Hundreds? No. 100? No. 50? Less. 20? No.
Less.
2. 2. Like, what do you mean 2? Give me those. Like it's just like that is so funny. But then right before it, you have like, you know, Anakin like basically telling Obi-Wan he's not like Qui-Gon. Like you see like genuine moments of like of Anakin's like, you know, angst, but also just frustration and then the super cool way that he's like enters the circle and they give him the rank of Jedi Knight, and like it's just there's a good balance, I think, between those two sides of the show.
Yeah. Okay. I can totally see that. I can see that.
They did do my boy Qui-Gon dirty though. His nose was as big as his face, but the only character design that looked like an actual caricature.
Okay, see, I'm kind of torn on my guy Qui-Gon because I agree with you that he didn't look that great. But one thing that I truly loved about this show was how much I thought it was really making a good deal emphasizing that how important Qui-Gon was. Like there's a scene where it's a scene between a very young Anakin, like maybe like a year or two after the Phantom Menace, and Obi-Wan. And Anakin's being polite, but he's kind of being like, I think Qui-Gon would have been a better master than you. And that's like a layer of that discussion that we've never heard quite that. It's been brought up in the books a lot, but it's never been mentioned quite that explicitly on screen. And I just was really touched by that.
Yeah, I will say, one thing I remember noting when I first watched this series, and I was younger when I watched this series, so I didn't catch that aspect that you're talking about, which is really cool that they did include it so like vividly. I just sat there like, man, Anakin is a whiny ass bitch. Like, no matter what Obi-Wan says,
Two
he's like,
things can be true.
I don't wanna. Like, oh my god, Master, you don't even trust me. Shut up. Ugh.
He is a teenager who was taken from his parents
It's fine.
as a child.
Have you ever had root canal?
I don't
No.
like where this is going.
Just answer the question. Have you had root canal?
Like the procedure on my teeth?
No.
I have not.
Okay. It is not very pleasant.
Wouldn't think so.
And I don't think watching it would be very pleasant.
Oh my god.
If a movie
Oh my god.
showed me a very accurate portrayal of root canal, I would say, congratulations. You presented a very accurate portrayal of a very unpleasant experience. That doesn't make it pleasant to enjoy on screen. Showing me a very active, very accurate portrayal of a whiny, obnoxious, love-obsessed teenage boy who needs someone to like put him in timeout is not pleasant. Like, yes, it is accurate to what he's like, but that doesn't mean I want to watch it on the screen or have anything to do with it. Or like, because the fact is that every time I see that, not only is it annoying, I just wish that I just want to hit the fast forward button. Like, I get it. He's a terrible, annoying teenage boy. Let's move on. But
Speaking as a previous annoying teenage boy, maybe I just relate to Anakin on that level.
I mean, so do I. But like, we grow out of these things, I hope. But also, I cannot. The worse he is presented, the more I lose respect for Padme. Like, because I just
True. True.
There is nothing about this version or Hayden Christensen that I find in any way like.
Christian's kind of hot.
Yeah, but he's so clearly toxic. It's such like the like. Aaron,
Okay,
F-boy isn't the right word, but what's the good word for the guy who tries to like guilt his way into your dating and into your pants? His whole like,
boy.
yeah, his whole like, oh my god, you wore that dress and I can't stop, and you gave me that kiss, and you never should have kissed me like that. Like, that's just toxic fuckboy behavior.
I'm just gonna give one very 30-second take on that, and then we should keep talking about the show. But I just want to say that I think, in my mind at least, it is the kind of mindset. It's not a healthy mindset, but Padme is so like refined, grew up in a loving family, secure, intelligent, sharp-witted, all that stuff. That like maybe she just sees Anakin as half like a project and half like here's this. Jedi were respected as these crazy warriors. She sees him as this like super cunning warrior, but also like a big old softy only when he's around her. And maybe that's like attractive to someone who's like that powerful and that sharp, like having this kind of like emotional, like I think Anakin's a Cancer, for being so real. And I'm a Cancer too. So maybe we should relate in that regards. But I feel like that's just kind of what the vibe is. I don't know.
I really thought you were just talking about the disease, not like the zodiac sign.
No, I know.
And I was like, damn.
No, Cancer as in the astrological sign, to be so clear. A bunch of emotional crybaby boys.
Well, okay. I will let you have the last word because everyone's heard my thoughts on this way too many times. But Aaron, I agree. This is not the best portrayal of Anakin by any means.
God, no.
I do think, though, that again, like the Clone Wars show, I do like the way they start to show him like starting to fall towards the dark side. And there's this whole long plot line of he's chasing Asajj Ventress and going way off command and like disobeying Obi-Wan and not doing the things he's supposed to be doing as a commander because he's so focused on catching Asajj Ventress. And when he does catch her, and then also like later in the show when he like goes through this weird ritual thing and then becomes like an even better fighter, like there's definitely a lot of that like dark side theme starting to build up, and I really appreciated how that was done.
The internet says that Anakin's an Aries, and I guess that makes more sense.
Oh my god.
He's with me.
Leia is a Cancer, if you were curious.
In a galaxy far away, our star signs
Let us have this.
by our stars. Do you know what happens when you're in a galaxy far away? There are different stars. That means that he's not an Aries. Because the planets don't exist, the stars. Okay, I've become the peanut old person.
Correct.
Back to the show real quick. I just wanna bring up the fact that they use the Force in a way that I think the Force should be used all the time by the
Which is?
Jedi. Like
Mhm.
they like Mace Windu would be just like throwing his hand out, and like George are just like breaking. He like takes all the screws out of one just for fun, and then takes the pieces up and
Yeah.
throws it at other droids. Like I feel like a Jedi Master should have extreme control of the Force, and that's what's displayed by him, Kit Fisto underwater, Yoda, Obi-Wan, Anakin. All of them just show these crazy Force powers, and like I understand that like that stuff's not necessarily practical to show in live action, but you feel you could show some of that shit in the other Clone Wars and Rebel shows. Like I feel like we don't see that level of Force use. I think it's really cool the way it's done in the show.
Mhm.
I agree. I just remember watching that and like specifically the Mace Windu scene. I was like, he's just being so goddamn disrespectful to these droids. Like, he can't even kill them normally. He's like, I'm just gonna start thinking of fun ways to fuck y'all up because that's how easy this is for me. And I
Mhm.
always really enjoyed that.
He looks so
Mhm.
disinterested.
So disinterested. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, no, and like when we get to the Clone Wars, we're gonna get to the episode where Mace Windu literally commits a war crime against the droids, and I think it's part of this whole like, yeah, no, they're not life I have to respect in the slightest.
Oh yeah.
Or no, wait, is it Anakin or is it Mace who does the fake surrender?
Anakin.
I
All
don't
right,
even
that's
know what
Anakin.
you're
You're right.
talking about.
You talk about you're talking about the
You're
other
talking
Clone
about
Wars
season
show,
7?
right? Season 7, where Anakin fakes the surrender on the bridge.
Oh yeah.
Super disrespectful.
Yeah, that's not disrespectful. That's a war crime. But we'll get into more. Of
Correct.
That. Like, we'll talk more
Listen,
of that later.
listen.
And also
You-
disrespectful.
hold on a minute. Hold on.
Yes,
One sec.
it is hard to respectfully commit a war crime.
If different galaxy means different stars, different galaxy also means different conventions.
Different war
conventions
crimes.
exist out there. So who knows about the war crime in that galaxy? We don't know.
It's not a war
Maybe
crime.
Chopper's not as
Neva
bad
said
as
it
we
is. It's
thought.
a war crime because it's a crime against. We understand basic things that like. Anyway,
Chopper's not a war criminal. You said.
Yeah, I said maybe he's not as bad as we all thought.
all right. This is just our let's try and be canceled episode. Moving right
Oh.
along. Any other plot lines you guys want to talk about?
I liked when Anakin went like had to like wear all the leeches and go through that whole like ritual to go, help that planet. I don't know what that species would be, but like basically like he interrupted the ritual, like the coming of age ritual, and then has to go like free these mutated like villagers and just visually very interesting. And like I don't know, I always like think it's I think of him with his leeches and shirtless going through this mission as an iconic part of this show.
Mm-hmm.
And concurrently, while that's happening, is the first iteration we ever see of the Chancellor being kidnapped on Coruscant, which we've obviously seen. We haven't seen, I actually don't think, any other direct visuals of that happening. Just like referenced in the Clone Wars show, referenced in episode 3. Obviously, like we see the aftermath of it. But this is the only like on-screen anything we get of that. And one of the 9 million times that poor homegirl Shakti gets her ass beat by Grievous.
Literally whopped.
Like, yeah, Shakti, just real quick, girl, you've been done dirty by the Star Wars franchise. You've been killed 4 different ways, and I am sorry.
Yeah, that's
talking about disrespect.
I mean, like you had her killed by Anakin, Grievous 2 different times. You had her killed by freaking Star Killer in the video game. Just disrespectful. But point is, really, I think really like a cool portrayal to actually see that like the actual like infiltration of Coruscant go down and like how that might have played out in a canonical sense, even though I know the show isn't canon per se. I just really enjoyed like having those 2 storylines concurrently being shown.
Yeah, it was really cool to see like the on the ground how they nabbed Palpatine. And also like guys, I'm going to talk about my favorite book series again. But in the Republic Commandos book about Order 66, it had such vivid descriptions of what Coruscant was like during kind of that initial siege. And it had been so long since I had seen Revenge of the Sith, I didn't really have much for memories. And then when I watched the show, I was like, it's all coming together.
Mm-hmm. I get that. I totally get that. Yeah, I like the idea of watching the kidnapping of Grievous. I think it's probably because this animation nostalgia is my thing, and I didn't grow up with it or anything like that. I can't say that I loved it. I didn't really love watching it. It just felt like it went on for very long. I will say I did overall like the space battles in this a lot better than I liked them in Revenge of the Sith. But it was kind of cool to get some of the context for that, to be sure, and seeing kind of, first of all, seeing Palpatine continue the lie, and also, at least in this, I definitely got the impression that Grievous didn't realize that Palpatine is Sidious. Is that part of what you got as well?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Which is really very silly. I also I want you all to think about this for a second. Pretend for a minute. Just pretend this is canon. Now imagine that right before Anakin went, or I guess it would have been. It can't be canon anymore because they switched this out with the Bad Batch mission in season 7. I guess. I guess you could. Maybe a Bad Batch mission happened, and then right after that, they went to this planet. Anakin put a bunch of slugs on himself, or leeches on himself, and then Ahsoka contacted him and said, "Hey, Master, what's up?" And this was the last thing he had done before that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really silly to think about.
For context, the planet is called Nelvan, I think.
Nelvan?
Nelvan. The Nelvanian people.
Love that.
I don't know.
I like it.
But yeah, overall, I think like the show is like really weird and quirky and groovy.
Yeah.
But has its serious moments, has a lot of, I think, firsts and introductions that are really fun and like some really cool use of the Force. But also some extremely silly little funny moments that I think was what makes it such a fun. I mean, where else you can see Yoda standing on some creature running into battle with his lightsaber?
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere, ever again.
Yeah,
Nowhere.
that was definitely fun. It just makes me sad about the werewolf, but Aaron has shared a picture that I'm going to put on social media of the actual Shaggy and the Shaggy Jedi, and they do look exactly the same. Especially that the Shaggy one is the one who's scared, and like at one point we see sweat like dripping off him in like comedic amounts in ways that you do see in the original in Scooby-Doo. So we're here for all that. Yeah, and overall, this is hardly my favorite. I'm probably not going to be like quoting a lot in terms of like the deep social meaning or deep like meanings of this show of Star Wars as a whole. But I think as much as I love rewatching things, and I think Star Wars has a very high rewatchability, there's just something great about seeing something new in the universe you love. And this definitely scratched that itch for me of like, oh, hey, I get to spend 2 hours watching new to me Star Wars content.
Also, Matt, did you pick up on the original trilogy reference?
I mean, in one of the first scenes, we see Yoda riding on what is a like warm planet animal, but looks a lot like and makes the exact same noise as a tauntaun. Is that what you're referring to?
No, that's a good one though. No, there's one point when they are when they lower themselves into the sewer to try and like Anakin want to sack that planet or that separatist base. Obi-Wan says, "What an amazing smell you've discovered," which is what Han says to Chewie in the trash compactor.
Yeah, I did. That was fine. Mostly, I think I was happy. Unless I missed it, I don't think anyone ever said I got a bad feeling about this.
That makes you happy?
I hate that because it feels so forced. Like there are times where it makes sense, but there are times when like the character saying it really just feels like the author was like, well, someone's got to say it. How about we put it here? Sure. And it's badly directed. It's badly acted. It makes no sense in the dialogue. Yeah. Overall, that feels to me like one of the worst parts of the Star Wars like overall series. Sorry to have strong feelings.
That's a wild take, actually.
Really? I thought most people I've talked to.
I just think it's funny.
I think it's great. I'm always like,
yeah. I think they actually claim that in one of the sequel movies, no one says it, but BB-8 beeps it. which is
No way.
fuck to me.
Okay.
Um,
Listeners, this is what we need you to write in on. Do you enjoy this? Do you think it's kind of old and tired and played out, or do you want it to continue with people having bad feelings about things?
more. Love you, Kyle.
Yes.
One very last thing I want to mention, then I will stop talking. Is can we just have a moment for the sexy C-3PO scene where
Oh,
he reveals his body like he is
Please.
the sexiest thing to ever live on the face of the earth, and he's so
he's like
ashamed. He's like,
Jessica
here
Rabbit.
in this public place, if you say so, Master Skywalker, and just like pulls down the robe in this sexual way.
It was so uncomfortable.
It's just a fun show.
And guys, that's Anthony Daniels. Just
That is
just to bring it
Anthony.
full
That is
circle.
C-3PO right there.
I'm pretty sure that Anthony Daniels was in this because he lost a bet. Like, I imagine a lot of the original the Star Wars cast of the prequels, like they get together for some kind of contest. Maybe it's like who gets the most signatures at their booth at some particular con, or who can do whatever. But whatever it is, like the thing was, whoever lost had to be an actual voice actor in this, and Anthony Daniels lost.
Well, I think Anthony Daniels is the one person who insists on being asked first and included in every use of C-3PO because he wants to own the character so much.
Well, I support him, but if it takes it to this place, then that's a problematic thing.
What was that
well,
planet
on
called,
that
Aaron?
note, I am wrapping things up. I am calling
Nav1?
curtains. Thank you both on this. To our listeners, as always, we want to know what you think. Send us feedback. You can also now join us on live recordings. The calendar of that is going to be kept on our website. We're also going to be trying to put out notice about it on social media. So please check that out. You're always welcome to join us on the live recording of episodes, and also to when you know about what's coming up in future episodes, take a look at the topics, and if there's one you're interested in, let us know. Send us some feedback. Send us some thoughts. All the information is on the website, theethicalpanda.com. It's also on our the show notes for this. We're going to have some bonus content that's only for the members. You can become a member for $5 a month, $55 a year. On behalf of myself, Alex, and Aaron, thank you all so much for listening. We are out of here.
Stay classy, Navlon?
Nelvon.
Novon. Stay classy, Novon.
Still got it wrong. Are there 50? Less. 20? No. 2.
She was so funny.
Oh shit. Okay. My food is here. So Alex, I'm going to tell you guys you have 10 minutes. Don't go any longer than that.
10 minutes? I don't even need that long.
That's
Yeah,
so much time.
You talk a little bit about what you're most excited for with celebration coming up, and I'll do a quick intro to it, and then I'll peace out, and then you guys, just as soon as it's done, tell me, and I will turn off the recording.
Okay.
Bye.
Welcome back, members. We have, in a couple of weeks, is going to be Star Wars Celebration.
Woo!
One of us is lucky enough to be going to Japan to experience that. I have to head out because of a medical thing that came up, but I'm going to leave it to Aaron and Alex to discuss their excitement about Alex getting to go to that. Go right ahead.
Letting the kids free again.
Oh boy.
No, okay. Yeah, y'all. So I am traveling with my childhood best friend, who is also named Alex. Actually,
Alex squared.
Literally, dude. He was born a week before me. We looked similar growing up. We have all the same. We played the same sports, same interests. Everything's the same. It's ridiculous. We look like twins. He's
One
also
of the
a huge
weirdest
Star Wars
fucking
nerd.
friendships I've ever heard of.
What'd you say?
It's one of the weirdest fucking friendships I've ever heard
Well,
of. It's
fuck you too.
great, and I'm happy for you, but it's wild.
Well, even our houses were designed by the same architect, even though we lived in different
God
parts
damn
of town. But yeah. So point is that Alex is also a huge Star Wars nerd. Has his own cosplays. I think he's gonna bring his Cal Kessler cosplay potentially. Because we're traveling to Japan, I think we're limiting ourselves to just one cosplay each, just because it's just too much. I haven't decided what I'm going with yet. Either Anakin or Obi-Wan, or maybe I would get something completely different for this. Who knows? But yeah, I'm really excited. I want to go to Celebration for years and years and years, but have not either had the money or the availability. but this year, or last year when they announced it was going to be in Japan, I said, you know what? I want to go to Japan for years. Screw it. What are savings for if not to use at least some of them for an adventure? So we're going for like 2 weeks to Japan to go all over the country, do all sorts of things, but then end it with Star Wars Celebration, which is going to be 3 days in mid-April. And they have not yet announced a schedule, but it is literally happening 2 days. Like it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Andor season 2, episode 1 comes out on Tuesday of that week. And so I am basically 100% sure that if I can get myself into the Andor panel, I will get to see the first episode of Andor before anyone else, which your boy is geeking at the idea of.
Yes, he is.
And we will record a special episode for those who want to hear about it without any spoilers before it comes out. Well, I am extremely jet lagged. If you want a good laugh, you should check that out. But for those who don't know, Star Wars Celebration is either held every year or every other year. They kind of take breaks here and there. And it's basically just an international celebration of Star Wars. It started years and years and years ago in California. I can't remember exactly when. I want to say maybe 2000 or 1999, somewhere around there. And it is like sponsored by Lucasfilm. I mean, they bring in all of as many of the actors from the movies and shows as possible for autographs and panels. And this time around, they're going to be celebrating not only Andor season 2, but it's going to be the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith, which is another reason we wanted to go this year because that's my favorite Star Wars movie. And if they don't announce Hayden and Ewan again, I will cry. Also, I don't care how much money it costs. Ewan McGregor, you will sign something for me. But if not, if he doesn't show up for any reason, I'm probably going to either get Anthony Daniels, aka C-3PO, or Sam Witwer, aka Darth Maul / Starkiller, to sign something for me. There are, I mean, autographs are a little expensive, I won't lie. Like $150, $160 for Anthony Daniels, or like $120 for Sam. So I probably have to pick one. But I haven't decided yet fully. Anthony being an OG and in everything, I love him so much. But like Sam, love him a lot.
If you decide to but get something signed by Anthony, I dare you to go up there and be like, oh my God, I love your work. I just like really admire your performance in the 2D micro series.
Aaron, what if I presented him with a photo of 3PO?
Of sexy 3PO?
And had him sign that for me?
Yes.
That would be insane behavior, actually.
Diabolical.
But beyond the autographs they do a lot of panels at Star Wars Celebration, like talking about what's coming next. A lot of really like special reveals, like secret guests. This is like last Star Wars Celebration. I can't remember what the things they revealed, but I mean they gave us info on all the future shows coming up. They had people coming out on stage, like revealing. I mean, at Star Wars Celebration is where they revealed that Palpatine was going to be returning for Episode 9, and they like a lot of like the just stunning, like holy shit moments that you might hear about in the news, like usually are revealed at Celebration. They save all the big news. And so like ton of panels, also like the largest collection of like merchandise, unique merchandise you could ever imagine there. I am bringing an empty suitcase between souvenirs between Star Wars Celebration and Japan in general. So. But if y'all, sorry, what did you say, Aaron?
I just said honestly, as you should.
As I should. But so that's kind of the gist of it all. But listeners, if you like, a lot of these panels, they open it up for like Q&A. Obviously I'm gonna be getting an autograph from somebody, and I'll let you know when I know who that is for sure. But if any of you have a like specific question or idea or thought or something you want me to like maybe ask these people, or something to look for while I'm there, please feel free to write in. I can't like guarantee it if we get a whole bunch of stuff, but if someone has a really just incredible question to ask at a panel, I'll definitely try and ask at least one or two listener sent in questions.
Hell yeah.
And just for like reference, the list is still, I mean, like they announced a lot of the bigger names right before Celebration, but like other notable people that have been like already announced, or your girl Ashley will be there.
Yes.
AKA Ahsoka. Also Rosario Dawson will be there. They actually have an Ahsoka duo photo package if you want it. Diego Luna
fun.
and Alan Tudyk will be there, of course, aka K2 and Cassian.
Mhm.
Ahmad Best will be his first celebration in forever. People are very
Yes.
excited about him being back. And
Aw.
then father and son, Tamora Morrison and Daniel Logan, aka Boba and Jango Fett, will be present. Oscar Isaac will be there. I just said Diego Luna. Manny Jacinto, aka
Yes.
the stranger, or
Chimere.
what's his name? Chimere, thank you. Will be there, and he actually has the cheapest autograph, so I could probably do him too if I wanted.
Hell yeah, do it.
As I said, Sam Witwer. And the last like bigger name they announced was Mads Mikkelsen, aka Galen Erso from Rogue One, which
Yup.
makes me feel like he might have an appearance in the show.
Ugh, I hope so.
So that'd be pretty awesome. So I'm really excited overall for all this stuff. But yeah, so if anyone has any specific questions or ideas or anything, please feel free to write in. I am beyond stoked. April 18th is when it's going down. So let us know. Do you have any questions, Aaron, before we part ways?
Any questions like
About
for you to ask
celebration?
them or just in general?
Just in general. I don't know. Not to give us 10 minutes.
I know 10 minutes.
I mean, we're not gonna use 10
Let
minutes,
me
but
see. Do you
yes.
yes. Shit, what was I gonna say?
I have her at a loss for
Right.
words.
Outside
but-
of celebration, is there like one thing that you like absolutely have to do while you're in Japan?
I mean, look who you're talking to. I've had a master Google Doc I've been adding on and changing and updating for
Okay.
literally 300 days.
I would imagine.
But the general gist of that trip is we're starting in the Yamagata Prefecture in the mountains in northern Japan, staying in Ginzan in this traditional onsen or hot spring that is just nestled behind, like next to this waterfall and in these mountains, and like it is like very old like wooden village that a lot of people say that Spirited Away is based off of, like the creator of Studio Ghibli films, whose name is escaping me. Basically like designed that from this village, and we're gonna stay there for a couple nights, and then we're gonna go stay at another traditional hotel on the bank of the lake, right next to Mount Fuji in the peak of cherry blossom season. Then we're gonna be staying in Osaka and traveling between there and Kyoto for like 4 nights, and then going to Tokyo for like 5 days before or 4 days before celebration starts. So we'll be kind of going all over, taking the bullet train all over the place, and just really trying to explore all aspects of Japan and Japanese culture that we can in the next 2 weeks, and then ending it with just balls to the wall lightsaber and Star Wars and just fangirling in my wildest dreams. And I'm gonna eat so much
I'm
good
so
food.
happy for you.
Yeah, it is truly something that is keeping me going right now.
As it should. I mean,
Throes of
that's
winter, throes of heartbreak. Just, who cares?
just the
Japan.
throws.
Lightsaber. The throws. I'm in the throws.
He's in the
And
throws.
and when I meet Sam Witwer and he says something to me in Darth Maul's voice, that will have made my existence worth it. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll just have him sign my forehead. No, I wouldn't do that. It's too much money.
Just get it tattooed.
Crazy behavior. I have him sign my arm and go to a tattoo artist to just write over it. Okay, but yeah, that's kind of like the gist. So celebration is going to be happening in April, so you guys have some time. But please, y'all, feel free to write in any questions you have about celebration, or if there's anything you like want me to ask somebody. Be down to ask a couple listener questions as long as I'm able to get my hands on a mic, which I'm pretty good at. I'm pretty aggressive.
You are
being
good at
from New
getting those
Jersey.
hands places.
All right, I think that's probably time for us to go now. So in honor of the kids, aka me and Aaron, and old Sensei Matthew, we have spoken, and stay classy, Japan. You got a quote there, Aaron, or
Roger, Roger.
That was tragic. All right. Let me text good Matthew. We are done.
Please.
Roger, Roger.
I got nothing. No brain cells left to give.
Yeah,
Fucking
felt.
tired. I haven't eaten.
Yeah, felt. Do 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 do.